better control both frustration and anger at work? Maybe your frustration and anger is leading you to do things you later regret. Maybe it's beginning to get you into trouble. Well, I'm here to tell you that frustration and anger can actually be your best friends, guiding you towards your greatest career goals. You ready to hear how? Let's get it. So your frustration and anger are getting in the way of your success. If only there were a way to help you better control how you express and how you emote frustration and anger while at work. Well, in this video, I'm first going to shift the paradigm of controlling emotions. Then I'm going to offer you 3 steps you can take when you're experiencing these more challenging emotions in the workplace. And finally, I've got an effective way for you to frame expressing these emotions out to another in a way that's going to help you move forward productively. It's time we shift the paradigm on controlling emotion. So often when we think about controlling our emotions, we think about diminishing them, holding them within, keeping them private, not sharing them. If only we could get rid of our anger and frustration, never having to experience them, so we can stay calm and cool-headed, moving through our work relationships and moving through work. But what if we shifted that paradigm? What if it wasn't about having less emotion, but rather about how to use that emotion in a more effective and efficient way? You see, I see our emotional energy as potential fuel. It's energetic entities, and it's not about having less fuel. It's about having the same level, if not more fuel, but having a means such that that fuel works for us instead of against us. Think about controlling the emotion as opposed to the emotion controlling you. In this new paradigm, I want to walk you through 4 steps that's going to arm you with a means to do just that. And no longer are you going to have to long to diminish or ignore or negate all of the emotional energy that's natural in our human bodies. So the first step when you're striving to control the emotion and use it as fuel is to step outside of that emotional energy. Now, that might sound a little bit strange, but what I mean by that is separating our cognitive or conscious thinking away from the emotional energy. You know, when you're in a really acute moment where all the anger, all the frustration just comes rushing up through you, your face gets hot, maybe your fist gets balled up, it can be very, very difficult to separate your conscious thought from that emotional energy. But this is such a critical step to allow that emotional energy to work for you as opposed to against you. So a couple pointers here is to try to move your attention away to what might be inspiring those thoughts and in turn, that energy. For example, I've been sitting in meetings before and feel myself becoming enraged, feel myself becoming so frustrated. And what I do is I divert my attention. I start either looking at a wall or I start looking at a chair that's in the room. What is that chair made of? I wonder if it swivels. Does it have wheels? Is it comfortable? And I'm just asking these questions to get my conscious thinking away from those thoughts that are inspiring the anger. And the more that I can divert that attention to that chair and thinking about how cushy or not cushy that chair is, then I can step away from the anger. And once my mind has been cleared, or I'm just thinking about the chair and not those other thoughts inviting anger, I can then revisit the anger. And this way, viewing it objectively. I'm coming back into the present moment, recognizing that I was just enraged, that anger was just flowing through me and frustration. That is what it means to step outside the emotion, allowing yourself to view that emotional energy objectively, as opposed to the emotion becoming you, such that you become the anger, you yell, you shout, maybe instead of investigating the chair, you picking it up and throwing it, right? So when you can separate that thought, it allows you to then use that energy, viewing it objectively. By the way, if you're digging this content, I'd love for you to comment below. Give me a heck yeah if you've ever been sitting in a meeting or in some type of work environment and you felt a whole bunch of anger and frustration. And maybe you just felt that today, which is why you have now stopped to watch me on YouTube. Go ahead and comment below with a heck yeah if you too have felt these emotions while in the workplace. All right, let's dive back into it. Now, the second step of working to control the emotion as opposed to the emotion controlling you, once you've stepped outside of that emotion and you're coming back to it to view it objectively, is to explore the meaning. I was just enraged. I just felt anger coursing through my blood. I just felt frustration. Why? What happened that enraged me? What was said? What was done? What was the meaning behind that emotion? So often I think about our emotional energy as almost like pain that's elicited from a wound. That pain is telling you that, hey, I need attention. Hey, you need to be ginger and careful with me because I'm striving to heal. That pain is a signal of where there's opportunity for the body to heal. I think that emotional energy really elicits that same type of a signal. It signifies something that you care about, whether that be making sure that those around you hold respect for you, or something about the work or the type of work that you lead that you're really passionate about, that you put a lot of value in. Some way, somehow, that emotion is signaling something that you care about and somewhere where there's an opportunity. So explore the meaning. What was the emotion, and then what incited it or what inspired it? What was said, what happened that inspired that emotion? Now, the third step is all around choosing how you then show up in that moment, what actions you want to take moving forward. Who needs to know that anger was just inspired within me, that I'm frustrated in this moment? Is there anyone that I need to voice that to right now in this meeting? Is there someone that I need to follow up with following the meeting? Maybe it's a trusted advisor, maybe a peer, maybe my wife needs to know about this. Identify who is that person that you actually want to emote and express this emotion towards. And of course, at this point, you should be prepared to share, here's the emotion that I was feeling, and here's what I think incited it. So you'll have a little bit more data behind you because you've executed steps 1 and 2. So again, choose what is the right action moving forward, who needs to know, and what is the timing that I think it's important to tell them. Right now in this moment, or perhaps during a follow-up conversation an hour, a day, or a week later. So the fourth and final step is actually expressing the emotion to another, right? You've already determined who's best to express or emote towards, whether it be an individual in the room, someone you're going to follow up with, or maybe a trusted advisor, a mentor, or a loved one. And the fourth step is actually expressing it. And this is a really important part of not allowing the emotion to control you, but rather you controlling the emotion, because those around you can act as sounding boards. And you also might need that individual to be knowledgeable of their direct action that inspired this emotion within you. And so here's a quick framework that I want you to use, or would invite you to use, when you're looking to emote and express those more difficult emotions, especially in the workplace. So since you've already been through steps 1 through 3, you should start by naming the emotion. Recently, or maybe 5 minutes ago, I felt both anger and frustration. And after you've named the emotion, share what incited that emotion within you. This person said this, I watched this happen, or I thought about or experienced this as it relates to the work. What was the action, the words, the behaviors that incited that emotion within you? And when you're sharing that, also share your best understanding of why you think that happened. This individual spoke over me. I was trying to express a point, and this is an individual that has consistently spoken over me. And they're not respecting who I am as an individual and the value that I bring to the table. And so the anger and the frustration was inspired because of that action. And then once you've explained that portion, when you're emoting or expressing to this individual, share with them what support looks like from them in that moment. And it could be as simple as just listening. At this point, I just need you to be a sounding board. I just need to express this emotion to someone outside of myself. And I need to hear me talk about it out loud. And so you're doing exactly what I need you to do in this moment. Or you might want to leverage them as an ally, someone who can support you moving forward. And that brings me to the final part of this framework. I want you to think about and express the action that you're going to choose moving forward. Here's what I have control over, and here's the choice that I'm going to do moving forward. And again, sometimes there's synergy in what support looks like from them, as well as what you're choosing moving forward. So name the emotion, name what was inspired the emotion, the action, the behavior, the words. Understand and convey the meaning or your personal understanding of why that was inspired, what support looks like from that individual, and then what you're going to choose moving forward. And you might want to mix those two up, right? First, share what you're choosing to do moving forward, and then end with what support or help looks like from that individual. When we can employ this framework, it allows us to not hold our emotions within, but rather to emote them, to express them, and those around us to become knowledgeable about when we're experiencing these difficult emotions. And it will invite those around us to capitalize on the opportunity that the existence of these emotions present. Again, our most difficult emotions invite us into our greatest opportunities to learn and to grow. Learning about ourselves, our peers, our colleagues, how to become better versions of ourselves moving forward. So if you're digging this content and you're one who really wants to be more in tune with those more difficult emotions of change, I really want you to watch 2 other videos. One, how to deal with negative emotions at work, and you'll see a link to that above me. And 2, how to keep emotions in check at work. These are 2 videos that have more really juicy content that's going to help you navigate those more difficult emotions you might be experiencing, maybe even on a daily basis in your work. So check out that content. I want to make sure you have the insights, the research, and the tools to ensure you're successful in growing through even your greatest change challenges. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until we meet again, keep growing and keep rocking.